for a new world order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of election, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's live edition. It is April 24th, 2013, and tonight my guest is going to be Stephanie Sledge, and I will be bringing her up momentarily. During the first break, I'll bring her on, and she will be live with us, coming back. We're going to be getting into the Boston bombing, and if you don't know who Stephanie is, you can check her website out. She's been a frequent guest on the broadcast before. I urge you to go check my archives, where we've talked about Jared Lee Loughner and the shooting of Gabrielle Giffords. You can check her book out, April Zebra 11, A Case File, Jared Lee Loughner. It's over at The Government Rag. That's her website, thegovernmentrag.com. That's thegovernmentrag.com. Stephanie is, not only is she a normal, average, everyday person like everybody out there listening, but she's also, in her spare time, what I'm sure little of it she has because everybody is busy nowadays, she still finds the time to run the website and be an investigative journalist. And her book is well worth the read. There's ebook copies of it. I don't know if there's a physical print copy of it. I'm going to have to ask her when she comes on tonight. But if you can get a copy and support her, because she doesn't get rich doing this. She runs off donations. If you can, go to her website, thegovernmentrag.com, and I urge you to support her. She doesn't pay me to say that or anything. Stephanie's a friend of mine. She's also a listener to the broadcast, and I support her work. She's just a really all-around intelligent lady. And, none of us make millions of dollars doing this. And in fact, none of us get paid for doing this. Or at least most of us don't. And I know Stephanie's one of those people that doesn't get paid. And she puts a lot of her time and a lot of her resources into the work that she does. So go check her website out, thegovernmentrag.com. When we get back, we're going to be getting into the Boston bombings. I want to pick her brain about what she thinks about the Boston bombings. I actually haven't gotten a chance to pick her brain about it and find out what she thinks. So it should be interesting. If it's anything like her investigation into the Loughner shooting, it should bring up one or two surprises at the very least. All right, we're going to break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in a few minutes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and we have a nice long segment, and I want to get right into it with my guest. As you heard me promo her and her website, the first quick segment there, I want to bring her right onto the airwaves Stephanie, welcome to the broadcast.
Well, thanks, Popeye. It's a pleasure to be back on your show.
Since the last time you were on, there's a ton of craziness that I want to, pick your brain on. But first and foremost, I saw a video you did the other day about your book, April Zebra 11, and I told the listeners where they could go pick up a copy, and that if they could afford to pick up a copy, to please pick up a copy and support your work. If you want, really quick, go ahead and take a few minutes and just talk about April Zebra 11 really quick and promo it, and then we can get into the Boston bombings.
Okay. You can go to www.thegovernmentrag.com, and on the front page there, on the Daily News and Headlines page, I do have a video that I put together so you can get kind of a 30-minute rundown of everything that's in my official April Zebra 11 report, and it is all about my investigation into the Tucson shooting that happened in 2011 with Jared Lee Loeffner. And also, too, you can click on the left-hand side of the page at the top. There's investigations, and you can also go there and, read other articles and watch other interviews and such. So, thegovernmentrag.com.
Excellent website. I support it. Go check it out, ladies and gentlemen, thegovernmentrag.com. So, Steph, let's get into the Boston bombings. First question I should ask is, are you going to end up writing a second book like you did with April Zebra 11 on the Boston bombings?
Well, I don't know for sure, what my plans are as far as writing another book or report. I guess it all just comes together when a person has enough information. But I don't know. But one thing that I do know is that I am following it. And, of course, I followed the Sandy Hook shooting also. And, there's quite a bit of similarities and quite a bit of information that's coming out. And one thing that I did notice is a lot more citizens are, digging into the information as well. So that shows that people are definitely waking up a lot more.
I agree. It's amazing how the response to this, and I know that people saw the sheep, I guess you could say, on TV, ooh, yay, they locked us in our houses, yay, martial law, yay. But, you saw that same thing with the quote-unquote 15th or 18th or 20th death, whatever number it was, of bin Laden, when all these college kids were out in front of the White House chanting USA, USA. So to a certain extent, I'm sure there really were people in the streets, but to a certain extent, a lot of that was a psyop for the television cameras. And then, of course, it draws in locals to that bigger psychological operation, the, yay, we should be down with martial law, yay. Just, there's a lot of craziness going on in Boston and in the world right now, Steph. And when I look at this whole thing, last week when it happened, I tried to analyze it from a different view than some of the other hosts out there that have been, because I didn't want to, hammer away the same points. I wanted to try to make sure I cover everything. And in doing that, it gave me a chance to kind of step back and see other things that are going on with this thing. Other, I guess, red flags, you could say. There's the Saudi, there's the guys in the khaki pants that supposedly aren't anything that we should worry about. Don't worry about them with backpacks and everything. Pay no attention to that. And somebody, before I forget this, somebody brought up a point about, well, it could be Kraft. Well, if it was Kraft, which is Chris Kyle's company, makes one wonder why Kyle was murked on the shooting range a couple months back. I don't know if it is true or not. I mean, I haven't gotten a chance to dive into it that deep, but it does make one wonder. So, digging into the bombing itself, what's the first thing, like, when you were watching the coverage? Obviously, you were probably just like the rest of us going, smells shady, nobody believes the government official story anymore. It's getting pretty pathetic, but what were the first couple red flags? Like, what was the first red flag that popped out at you about the bombing?
Well, there was a couple of things right off the bat, and one of them was the fact that, some of the very first witnesses that were coming forward were saying that, that there had been drills that were being announced, that there was going to be, it's just a drill, but, of course, in all the events, it seems like right away the witnesses start saying that, and then it starts to backtrack, and that's what I seen at first with this, was just that people were admitting that they were hearing over the loudspeaker that there were drills going on. So that was the first thing that really sparked my interest, because I knew that it had to be, once I heard there was a drill in the area, then, you start thinking about all the other events that we've seen in the last couple of years.
Yeah, every time you hear drill and terror attack, they seem to be synonymous with one another, and I don't mean because it's a drill about a terror attack, but it seems that these drills that they're doing, simulating, and I do air quotes when I say simulating a terror attack, always seem to go live. And, that's what it looks like happened. And just from the pictures I saw of those contractors, they didn't look like, a lot of people thought they were SEALs and stuff. They don't look like SEALs. They look like mercs. They had some military bearing to them, but you can see that they were no longer in the military. At least to me, that's what it looked like. They didn't look like they were active duty. It looked like they had some civilian time, because you could see it just in the way they were standing and their posture, but they did look like mercs. And it makes you wonder, like, why would mercs be there? Well, maybe they were involved in a drill gone live. And look at their faces. They kind of look like, some of the pictures you could see, one of them looks like he's on a radio or a cell phone. Like, what the hell's going on? You can almost imagine the thought going through his head, going, this was supposed to be a drill, what's going on? You could see it in their faces. So, who were those guys? How come we were told not to look at that? I like how the FBI came out and said, don't look at those pictures. Doesn't the powers that shouldn't be, don't they understand that if you come out and you say, no, you can't have cookies, that the kid is going to go want to look into the cookie jar? So why would you come out and tell people, no, don't look at any other photos out there, only pay attention to our photos? Doesn't that kind of show their hand just a slight bit?
Yeah, it definitely shows their hand, and it also shows that there's a possible cover-up going on. And I think maybe that this time that they were a little bit alarmed at the fact that people were uploading their video footage and information on the internet and sharing it with alternative media faster than turning it over. And so I think people are really starting to question things, especially after the last shooting was at the Sandy Hook school, where allegedly all those children were killed, and then the gun control debate, and I know the gun control debate did start after the Loeffner case real heavy too, but after the Sandy Hook shooting, it was hardcore, wanting to be implemented. So this was I guess it was very surprising. It wasn't surprising that, we could have another false flag on our hand, which it appears that it might be. But also, it was surprising to me, too, that just how sloppy I think that they're getting, And I've said that from the beginning with my investigation into the Loeffner case, that each time it just seems like they're getting sloppier, even though they're trying new things, but yet they're just still real sloppy. And, I don't understand why the American people are, I guess there's just still a lot of people that really don't understand the full-scale, amount of terror that's going on in this country, and that it may not be from Al-Qaeda.
There's a lot of stuff that was going on in Congress last week, Did you hear the one, and I don't remember who it was. He was either a congressman or a senator, one of the two, and I can't remember his name right now. Too much information floating around my head today. But he came, you can look this up within the past week, and I'll try to find his name so I can let you know what his name is, everybody. But he came out and said basically, although they were not, they were real bombs that went off in Boston, They could have been digital bombs, and the next ones will be digital bombs. So they need to pass CISPA so they can go and spy on everybody's email and text messages. Not that they already don't do it, but now they're just making it law so that they can't get in trouble for doing it. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I mean, this thing has nothing to do with the internet, but they'll try to connect it to it. And now you see the alternative media getting blamed. See, they're upset about the alternative media kicking their butts with information. This is an info war. Literally, it's an info war on both sides, and we are having a major effect as this independent, alternative, whatever you want to call it, media. And they don't like that. That's why you're starting to see them today, yesterday into today. Now they're blaming InfoWars. They're saying that the radical one, the older brother, perused sites like Infowars.com and attacked or liked Alex Jones, and they're now blaming Jones. They're saying him and because he's like the king, right? He's the face that they use to attach to the word conspiracy theorist. So now anybody that goes to IntelliHub, Infowars, FederalJack.com, Unbound Radio, any of these other, the GovernmentRag.com, any of these alternative news websites, now were considered extremist websites. What do you think about that, Steph?
Well, that's part of the PSYOP, and, that's been going on for a long time, and when that happened yesterday where they blamed Alex Jones, it just, I had to roll my eyes. It's just another stunt to try to deter people from, finding out the truth on other websites. And, it's coming from, the horse's mouth, really. So, there's going to be people that are going to watch the mainstream media and read the AP press no matter what. And, there are those people that may never change. They may just, be, constantly sleeping is what I'm calling them. But it doesn't surprise me that, they threw, I guess, a bombshell, towards alternative media yesterday because, like you said, this really is an info war. And, what, who are they going to blame? They don't want people to go to our sites or any alternative media sites simply because, they want their story to be read, they want it to be shared, they want their ratings to be, improved. And it sure does seem suspicious to me, too, how a lot of these events, they always start out blaming, either alternative media or, the Tea Party or right-wingers or, it's getting really old, if you ask me.
Well, it shows their hand. And it shows how pathetic they are, too. Look, Chris Matthews, it's got to be a Tea Party or it's got to be a right-winger. People from Salon writing articles saying, let's hope it's a right-wing Christian, conservative gun owner that's a member of the NRA. It's just retarded. Why would you hope that? I actually met somebody in real life. I know someone in real life. I shouldn't say I met them. I know them. They actually said the same thing to me. They said, I hope that I was hoping that the guy they caught would be some white Christian guy and not a Muslim, because because he's atheist. So he's like, I just wish, that people would realize that, other religions other than Islam are evil. And I just face-palmed it. And I just looked at him, and because I have to deal with him in a certain capacity, I had to refrain from going off on him like I really wanted to. But I still schooled him to a certain extent, but just unbelievable. Don't buy into that garbage, ladies and gentlemen, because you're hoping that you're the terrorist. If you hope that any quote-unquote white Christian or white anybody is the bad guy, you're buying into that homeland terrorism crap. It's garbage. All right, ladies and gentlemen, break coming up. Don't go anywhere. More with my guest, Stephanie Sledge. Check her website out, thegovernmentrag.com, thegovernmentrag.com. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Hopefully I have a better connection now, as normally seems to happen whenever I talk to certain guests, including Stephanie. I have Skype issues. And for one reason or another, it just always seems to happen with certain people. So I literally had to shut my Skype off and restart it because, as always happens, Murphy's Law, right? Right in the middle of an interview. So to repeat really quick what you guys might not have heard in the quick, short segment, which I was going to repeat anyway because we have a nice longer segment here, I was discussing how when I was looking at the bomb, when I was looking at the explosion, one of the things that stuck out to me was the fact that the bomb didn't do more damage than it did. And a lot of people would say, well, that's horrific, would you want more people to get killed? Well, no, it's just you would expect that if someone was going to cause terror and death, that there would be more people turned into pulp. And if anybody's ever seen an explosion, in Iraq, Afghanistan, anywhere else where they do suicide bombings or bombings, these people are turned into goo, right, Steph? So it just looks a little odd that there was, a lot of limb damage and stuff. So to me, it's more like they want these injured people so they can use them as political backdrops later on when they want to push whatever laws that they're going to push, and they want to push the appeal to emotion. They would want more injured people, because then it's more people that they can go convince. Come on, we need to get on board. Guns, this, that, the other thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And what I was saying earlier was this is part of the psyop is to prey upon the mind, and the way that they do that is they will study the emotions of humans, and that's how they put these psyops together, is they use things, that will get to us and, make us feel sorry and, to justify legislation. And, a lot of these events have brought, a lot of children to the forefront as victims. And, I was saying earlier that I personally think it's just a despicable way of, it's just a real despicable way of doing, any type of legislation, if you ask me. And of course, it funds victims' compensation funds, and, of course, those fund the next operation.
Exactly. And I feel bad for the people that were killed. I really do. I don't think, some people are saying that there could be crisis actors, which I wanted to actually ask you about, because they're, maybe in the Sandy Hook thing, people could have said, oh, you're crazy. But now when I look at this, there's some stuff that's interesting. I know they have amputee actors and stuff that they could have. There's pictures out there. They use them in mock simulations and stuff, or mock simulations, mock battles or simulations thereof for training purposes or movies and stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me if if you're going to look at it like it's a false flag event, like they would have that in the crowd for photo ops and stuff like that. But I really do believe that there were people injured and that there were people killed. Again, what better of a way to sway people's opinion than if you have a few dead people? And it's horrible that a kid was killed, but to me, it's odd. Again, it really jumps out off the page almost, or off the video screen, whatever, at me. That there's more injured than dead. If you were a terrorist bomber and your intent was to kill people, then you would want to kill them, not maim them. And if the guy was that bent on jihad and all this other garbage, then they would have done a little more studying into, I don't know. It seems like total crap. It really does. It's just another sign that screams crap. And now, like I said, now you have I think it's Lautenberg up in New Jersey. He's going after, they want to go after black powder. There goes reloading. And most of the ammo you get at gun shows are reloads. You can get stuff like from Remington or Winchester or whoever, all the other companies and stuff, but especially now with the way it is and DHS buying all of it up, most of the stuff that you see at gun shows right now is from reloaders. So to me, this verifies that their response to it verifies that, yes, this is something that was put forth by them. And it doesn't mean that the senators know that it's it was a government op or a black op. It doesn't mean that they know. They're stupid. Most of these people don't even know how the internet works. They're lucky, that they know how to flush their own toilet or use a plunger to unclog the toilet. They're led around by their noses too. Some of these senators and congressmen are scumbags and they know what's up, but some of them don't. Most of them don't. Most of them are just led around by fear and propaganda. The reaction to it is always very telling. What say you, Steph?
Well, yeah, definitely. There's a lot of people up on Capitol Hill that are, operating out of fear, and of course, there's a lot of them that are just operating up there as puppets as well. So, I mean, you know, I guess a lot of people don't understand, you know, how severe things are going. I mean, even just like on my social networking sites, just kind of following what, you know, my friends are saying, you know, about what happened at the Boston bombing. You know, it just really surprises me at some of the reactions, some of the posts that people will post out of pure reaction. And, you know, a lot of them dumbed down, if you ask me. You know, they just, they got the superhero syndrome. They're all more, you know, just the whole martial law, you know, the beta test, whatever you call it, out there. It's just real frightening. I think that how mind controlled the entire can be, I guess, for a community, at least.
Trauma-based mind control, you know, the bombs, the loss of your innocence, loss of your protection, right? And then they show all the pictures of you know, bombing things and everything else. It's total trauma-based mind control. It's done on purpose. It's done just like 9/11 was on purpose. 9/11 was completely on purpose. The same way, they showed the video. It was traumatic event, right? People died, they were killed. They showed the videos over and over and over again, over and over for the first couple of days, and they stopped because they said they didn't want to traumatize anybody. They were done. It was locked in your head. Now, whenever they need to, you know, access it, they bring the false patriotism. My wife slapped me. We were standing at the diner, and we were waiting to get served. And while we're standing there waiting to get served, they have TV all over the place, and they're showing, we got them, you know, garbage, and they're all waving their flags and everything else. And I'm standing there, and I said out loud, I looked right at the TV, there had to be like 15 people standing there, and I said, false patriotism, garbage. And some people took offense to that, I think. But I called it when it was, not just as I see it, but like it was. It was false patriotism. It was the same crap you saw, the same garbage that you saw, you know, after 9/11, after all that. Not so much the fake ones with the FBI foiling the terror plots. In fact, I think that's one of the reasons they had to go live with this thing, is because they've foiled so many that are obviously FBI contrived plots that people are like, okay, no way. So now they literally had to light one off and kill people, so then it brings it right back to 9/11. Oh my God, it's like 9/11. I mean, I heard the expression used, life is never going to be the same ever again. I was like, oh God, I heard that 12 years ago. I remember that exact statement. And then followed by, as soon as the martial law, you know, beta test was rolled out, Mayor Mumbles Menino up there and the rest of these other politicians were all, you know, this is the new normal. Police and military on the streets. You know, posse comitatus, anyone? I mean, well, it was just the National Guard. Oh, so the National Guard driving down the street in Humvees, aiming weapons at people in their house, looking out their windows, is normal. Because when I was a firefighter and I worked with the National Guard at multiple disasters over the years, I don't recall ever going at gunpoint and ever pointing guns at anybody's face. Well, you didn't have terrorists on the loose, Popeye. Yeah, okay, terrorists on the loose. A 19-year-old kid scared out of his mind. And now suddenly they've got him in custody and he's singing like a bird. It was my brother. He likes the alternative media. Okay. What do you think, Steph?
Well, it's just a morphing story, Popeye, you know, and I have to take humor to it because I know that, you know, I do feel sorry for the people that were injured and the people that were killed, and, you know, I take sympathy with that, and, you know, when I do look into investigations, I try to go into it with an open mind. I try to wipe the slate clearer of everything that I've seen and heard, and try to piece it together without, you know, and scrutinizing everything that's coming out. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, a lot of people, they don't understand. They think that you might be, you know, dismissing the fact that there are injuries or deaths, or, you know, why aren't you feeling sorry? Why aren't you, you know, praising the massive manhunt that took place out there? And it just, to me, it's just so ridiculous. I mean, it's it's not what America is for. I mean, where was the sheriff? I mean, have we heard from the sheriff? No, not that I can recall. I mean, we've heard from federal agencies, and we've heard from, the state police, and I believe the firefighter police chief. But have we heard from the sheriff? That should be more alarming to people, is why aren't we hearing from our sheriff, and why is this stuff taking place? I mean, why are these drills taking place? Why are there foreign troops being allowed on our soil to pull off these, drills? I mean, it's just a question that people need to start looking into more deep about it. How far is it going to go?
Well, I obviously you can see that these people will stop at nothing to push their agenda. I mean, they don't care about blowing kids up. They don't care. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, just so everybody's clear, the people in the independent media here have been saying this for years now. We've been screaming, they're going to do this again. You watch. And that with all these again, these fake, contrived FBI plots where they catch the bomber just in time. There's been a lot of people saying, you know what, every time they always catch one of these guys just in time. One of these times, they're not going to catch him. They're just going to let it go. Oh, the FBI would never do that, Popeye. Come on, they always catch the bad guy. Really? You don't think that whole thing was a setup? And I'm not saying that they knew they were going to bomb Boston 2 or 3 years ago. Perhaps it was something that was on the back burner. I mean, these plans, they don't just come up with at a last minute, thought. These things are thought out. It takes months to come up with one of these plans and check everything. So and schedule a drill and everything else. So obviously this was something that they had planned out, and they decided to let it go live. I mean, look, if you look at all these situations and you look at all these drills that happen, right? I'm willing to bet that at any given moment when a drill is going on, it's got a counterpart to it, which I've been told this by other people, including, if you understand Fletcher Prouty's work, Colonel Fletcher Prouty, he talked about this, that for every, any op that was out there in your face, there was a joint black op to it that you didn't know about, okay? So it makes one wonder, it really does, it makes one wonder how deep the rabbit hole really does go on this. But it really, I don't think this was planned. I know it's sloppy, but I don't think it was planned, last minute yesterday, and then, you know what I mean, and run. I think that it was set to go live last minute, and that's why there's a lot of sloppiness. I think just from watching how they do things, I think that any given time there's a drill, there's always as above, so below, something else going on that at any given moment they could let it go live and it would be a real bombing, right? But they always say no, they always catch it. Well, this time they let it go live, and bazillion reasons, all the things in Congress that they don't want you to look at, that they're voting on, all this legislation, or another way to scare other senators and congressmen. See, with the boogeyman, we need to pass legislation that won't do anything to protect us from this boogeyman, but it doesn't matter. It's utterly ridiculous. All right, ladies and gentlemen, break coming up. Don't go anywhere. We will be back in a few short minutes. Go check out Stephanie's website, thegovernmentrag.com. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Final segment of the first hour, but we still have hour number 2, where we're going to get into a few more things about the Boston bombing. Every time Steph comes on, we always have some sort of interesting phone connection problem or technical difficulty. I'm telling you, it's like there's certain guests that it's almost like there's somebody out there that just doesn't want me talking to certain people at certain times. It's interesting. Anyway, during the break, Stephanie brought up something that's really interesting, and I don't know too much about it, so I'm going to let her, I know it's a quick segment here, so I'll let her get into it a little bit here, and then we're going to get into it in depth in hour number 2, a little bit more, and I'll give her as much time as she needs. But there's we were discussing again, the red flags, the interesting weirdness, I guess you could say, that surrounds the Boston Marathon bombing. And aside from the predictive programming, like the Family Guy episode and all that stuff, there's something else that I've heard a little mumbling about here and there, but I really don't know too much about it. It's called A Tale of Two Cities, Steph? It's something about a bombing a bombing story or bombing drill? What is this?
Yeah, one of the things that I discovered after the bombing was the city of Boston, the emergency medical services, I believe the guy's name was Richard Serino, and he is the chief of the Boston EMS and assistant director of the Boston Public Health. And in 2008, he had done a presentation. In fact, it's called Course 18, and it's called Marathons, the tale of the two cities and the running of a planned mass casualty event. And in that presentation, it's a PowerPoint presentation, and what that is it lays out the entire groundwork of, like a planned mass casualty that might happen during a marathon. And so it's quite interesting. And I will be putting out, I've been working on an article. It's a very comprehensive investigation, just a short, it's comprehensive, but of course it's short at the same time. So hopefully I'll have that out by tomorrow, and, people will be able to read further into some of the discoveries that I've found so far into the Boston bombing and some of the oddities, that have been going on. And possibly, there possibly two others that have been spotted there that haven't been noticed yet from anybody else that I've seen. So I'm putting together a comprehensive investigation into it, and hopefully I'll have that article published by tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Well, throw me a link, because I'll put it. I'll take a look at it, and what I'll do is I'll put a little blurb on Federal Jack, and then link it back to your site for people to read the full article, so that because people need to see it. And again, ladies and gentlemen, Stephanie's work isn't half-assed. She researches it, she puts it out there. She doesn't ask you to believe anything she says. She just says, look, here's the evidence, here's what I've found. This is my synopsis of it. Take it, for what it's worth. And it's usually, spot on. I haven't found any holes in her work yet, so again, Apple Zebra 11, huge book. Is that thing, by the way, in print? I meant to ask you that.
Yeah, I just got it finalized into print, and so it was delayed for a little while because we had some technical problems, but it is in print now, and so I do offer on the governmentrag.com, if you make a donation, and you can see, if you make a donation for $10, you can get, an e-book, and then there's, the donation where you can get a hard copy, and then I also have color charts. They're case charts is what they are, and they're like the old-fashioned case charts that, true investigators from the past used to use. And so I do offer a 16 full-page color chart that ties, all the associations together, and, of course, kind of lays the groundwork of these. And it goes much deeper than the FBI. These are very deep special medical ops. And I explain that in my book how, these are different than just Department of like the DHS or FBI. They're multi-agencies working together on a wide scale, and how they bring international organizations into all this. So it is much deeper than most people think, and so I do encourage people to get a copy so they can, understand how deep it really goes.
I agree. They need to purchase the book. If they can purchase the physical paperback copy, I urge that first. Clean house, clean Stephanie's whole stock of physical books out, and then get the ebook if you can't. If you like the Kindle, you have a cell phone, whatever, get the ebook. It's important, again, not only to have this information, but also to support people like Stephanie and her work. That way she can continue to do more investigations into things like the Boston bombing, Sandy Hook, and whatever else piques her interest. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hour one up, hour two coming up. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Check Stephanie's website out, thegovernmentrag.com, thegovernmentrag.com. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye, from FederalJack.com. It is April 24th, 2013, and tonight I am hanging out with my guest, Stephanie Sledge. And if you don't know, because maybe you're just tuning in right now, perhaps you were working or you just got home or whatever, and you happen to be tuning in at this current moment, you were busy up till this very minute, and you're just tuning in, Stephanie is not only a webmaster, but she's also an investigative journalist and an author. She's got a book, she's got a magnificent website, and she's got a magnificent intellect. She tears apart all the garbage that you see going on around you, and she does so in a very simple, simplified way that even though the information is vast, like in April Zebra 11, for instance, her book, even though it's vast, there's a lot of it there, she does it in a way that it's easy to digest. So I would recommend getting her book. You can go purchase it at her website, thegovernmentrag.com. Steph, where else can they get April Zebra 11? Is it the best place just to go right to the website and get it right from you?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I do sell it on Lulu.com, but it's best to get it from me straight from the website, just because then the money goes towards, the operation, keep funding the operation so that we can, keep putting out more investigations. So, and I do appreciate your intro, and thank you so much for, letting people know what you feel about my book, and I appreciate that.
Well, it's important that people support independent media and stuff, because, look, you're not going to hear them ever talk about the Loeffner case the way you did. And to me, the only thing that they do is they provide a convenient video platform for her husband to use her for his bid as a future senator or congressman / perhaps the president of the United States, and in a future run 10 or 15 years from now. He's riding his injured, I don't want to say retarded, but injured / mentally handicapped now because of the gunshot wound wife all the way up to Capitol Hill. He's riding her injuries and that shooting as far as he can. The whole AR-15 thing where, I'm going to turn it over to the authorities right away as soon as I get it. Well, technically that's a straw man purchase, right? If you buy it and then you go ahead and you just give it to somebody, isn't that breaking the law? Aren't you doing exactly what you're trying to not let happen? Well, I'm trying to show you that there's loopholes. Okay, so how would a law stop you from still doing that? That doesn't make any sense. That whole case is garbage. And most people relying and buying what he says and relying on what he says, you have to buy into that whole story and buy into the appeal to emotion that is put forth. And if you read your book, April Zebra 11, ladies and gentlemen, if you read Stephanie's book, you read her work on this case, you won't look at that whole thing the same way again. And even if you only believe half of the stuff that she presents, I guarantee you'll see through the garbage. It's that vast. There's that much stuff connected to it. Trust me. All right, we got a break sneaking up on us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few short minutes. When we get back, I want to get back into the Boston bombing, and I want to ask her a few questions about the school shooting in Newtown, because it's been a while since I got a chance to pick her brain, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Nice long segment, ladies and gentlemen. Now, why would I say that I think by now, after the time that has passed since the bombings occurred, why would I say that it is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, an inside job? Because I can guarantee you now, judging just from what some of the stuff that I've presented to you tonight, but not based on that solely, but judging from how I've seen the media react, judging from how I've seen the politicians react, and judging from how the evidence that I've seen so far, this thing without a doubt is a contrived mess. Now, their official narrative is falling apart, not so much because they got sloppy with the putting it together. Like I said earlier, I think that every time there's a drill going on, there's that underlying as above, so below. So you have what's in the light, the white part of it, what's in the light, the drill that's going on, but in the shadows, there's that capability that it could always go live into a real event. And I think that that's what happened. And obviously there were people caught off guard, but I think by doing that, I think that the choice of it going from drill to live was done. That's where I think it was done in haste. I don't think it was set from drill to live a long period of time ago. I think it was done sooner, and that's why there's a little bit of sloppiness to it. But that's not really what ate them up. Let's be honest. There hasn't been a real terror event, right? Quote unquote terror event. There hasn't been a real attack like this since 9/11. So all the other stuff has been contrived. So when the independent media comes out and they attack it and they tear it apart, it really doesn't get that much attention because, a foiled plot versus Dancing with the Stars wins. This is different. There were people injured and killed, and perhaps there was some of it faked, with crisis actors and things like that. But there still were people injured, and there was enough attention to what happened that people paid attention to this, and people paid. It's not like the other ones where, it was a foiled plot, whatever. So I think that because more people were paying attention to this, and because of the prolific use of the internet and people on 4chan. Again, I gave anybody that was involved in getting those images out and at least getting them out so the public could analyze them further. Kudos to you. Okay, but the problem is we haven't had in this country. They haven't had the powers that shouldn't be as they haven't had to put up with the internet like they do now in a major event like this, right? So this is the first time something huge like this has happened here stateside since 9/11. And unlike 9/11, now we have a much stronger internet with more people keeping their eyes out. And again, it's interesting how this happens, and it just so happens to coincide with them wanting to pass CISPA. I mean, doesn't anybody see the irony there, or the symbolism, maybe, the hidden symbolism there, that they understand that the internet is tearing them apart? I mean, why? This is why they're so against it. Look what the internet did. Look what, Steph, you know what I'm talking about. The independent media in the past week and a half, and not even just the independent media, but people just basically using the internet to get access to this stuff. I've heard politicians saying, people shouldn't have access to public images and video cameras on the internet. That shouldn't be allowed. It should be against the law. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know that we lived in communist China. What say you, Steph?
Well, who's buying up our debt? That's all I got to say, really. No, I agree with you. CISPA is definitely a lot of the agenda behind, what's been going on, especially since the Sandy Hook shooting, because a lot of people dug into the Sandy Hook shooting. I don't think they were, maybe quite, ready for that, because when the Lofter shooting happened, people were like, yeah, it's kind of fake, patsy, stuff like that. But then after a few months, people forgot about it. And then the Aurora shooting happened, and, there were more false flags, and more people were, questioning it. But, as you can tell, it's kind of faded away, too. There's not really a whole lot of people that are really even digging into that I can find. But then when the Sandy Hook shooting happened, that was on a much greater scale, and of course, the children involved in that, a lot of people woke up, big time, and we've seen it on these videos where literally, like 12 million views in a week. People were definitely wondering what was going on, and they knew they were not getting the correct information, so they had to go search for it, and I've had a lot of people tell me, that that's how they found my site, was trying to find information about what happened at Sandy Hook or what happened in Tucson. And so I think people are just starting to feel like there's something in the air that's not right. And a lot of people are getting off the television. More and more people are really, turning the cable off, and that makes a huge difference. It really does.
Well, yeah, and you can see that they're freaking out, and that's why they're attacking the independent media. That's why you see them bringing up Jones's name, and again, you can see they bring him up all the time. People go, "Why are they bringing him up all the time now? You know, is he part of an op?" Look, honestly, I don't think that. You can see that they set the tone already months back when they invited him on CNN, and he had that huge blow up between him and Piers Morgan. They set him. You know, I've given my whole analysis how I think they set him up, and the reason why they that whole thing was a huge psyop, and not just by Piers Morgan or CNN, but by people that control them purposely to set the tone. And now you see it. In the ensuing months, it's every time anybody does anything wrong, they go and they start blaming Jones and his website and his whole crew and everybody else and his radio show, and then any other conspiracy theorist and anybody in the independent media, anybody other than them. And it's not because any of us are responsible for any kooks or crazies out there. It's because we are literally kicking the crap out of these pathetic dinosaur lamestream garbage media. Nobody's going to them anymore. More people probably go to your website than Chris Matthews' website. I know for a fact that federaljack.com has a better Alexa rank than Chris Matthews' website for his TV show. Not NBC, but the website his website that's funded not by him, right? Not out of his own pocket, but by corporate money and all this other garbage. And I have a better Alexa rank than he does. I know. I'm willing to bet you do. I know for a fact the IntelliHub has a better Alexa rank than most of these big, even like something like Salon or something like that. I mean, it's just ridiculous. There's InfoWars too, and all these other. You get What Really Happened. There's so many of them out there now. I can't even. I'd be remiss if I tried to name everybody, and I'd forget. But there's so many people in the independent media now that we're literally wiping the floor with these people. The powers that shouldn't be. They're talking heads. Back in the day, they used to come on. They used to have that power stuff where they could be like, they come on with a Walter Cronkite, the grandfatherly, fatherly figure, and he comes on and he tells you the way it is. And you go, okay. And you sit and you believe it, right? And even the proper Dan Rather type, or even Larry King was kind of affable, right? But now their talking heads are so transparent. They're like talking Ken and talking Barbie dolls. And it doesn't matter whether or not they're black, they're white, they're Hispanic, Chinese. It doesn't matter, or any Asian persuasion. It doesn't matter. They all talk alike, look alike. With the way they dress. They all like almost like what do you call it? The Stepford Wives. We have the Stepford reporters, right? They're all like robots. They just walk around. And people see through that garbage. And they're reporting. They don't report on anything. It's a joke, right? They don't actually do reporting. So they're dying. And what we're witnessing, this is from my analysis, what we're witnessing when they attack the independent media like that, it's of course they're going to try to link it to the bomber and everything else, but when they attack the independent media, it's like that. It's because they're in their death throes. It's out of desperation. What do you think?
Well, their ratings are dropping, and that's definitely for sure. But whenever these events come around, where there's some kind of tragedy or something, then they're increased, and so it does make you wonder, the connection there because of Operation Mockingbird and some other operations that have been discovered in the past with media. And yeah, I mean, more people are turning to independent news, and because people want a well-rounded news, for their morning. They want to know what the current events are. They want to know what the truth is, and it just really blows my mind that how the big dinosaur media is in fact working against the American people by participating in this. And I know that there are people behind the scenes. I have talked to people like in local news organizations and, whatnot, that, there are people that they're stuck, like they're stuck in contracts or they're stuck in their jobs. Not every one of them are dumbed down. And there are really some good reporters out there that are stuck in the mainstream media. And, the only thing I can do is that, they'll make that decision to, fly their own wings because, there needs to be more people that step forward that have the experience. And I've even noticed, some of the, there are some investigative journalists as well that, they get a lot of attention, but in fact they only give half the story. And so to me, that's just as bad. And, citizen journalism it's not only is it dangerous in these times, but it's also, people are really starting to turn towards citizen journalists like me. What I do is I contribute to, I'm a citizen journalist, and I bring stuff forward to the citizens, and that's my main goal. That's who I work for. And so I think more people are stepping up to the plate in alternative media, and I've seen it, and it's great. I really enjoy talking to others and connecting with others that, really have the passion to bring information forward. And because people know that, they're not going to get a true investigation in the mainstream anymore. It's gone. It's a thing of the past. We haven't seen it since the 70s. And so it just was cut off, and these people are now, they're just desk writers waiting for the AP facts to print out every morning so that they can write their stories based on those. And it's quite shameful, if you ask me.
Oh, it's disgusting to understand how the media works. And I remember that I used to be, after 9/11, I was one of these news... I always paid attention to the news. I always read the newspapers. But after 9/11, I was one of these cable news junkies for a little while. And I realized that I had to turn the TV off and I had to unplug. I couldn't watch that stuff because I realized it was, affecting my emotions. It would affect the way I would talk. Like, I noticed a couple of times I would have conversation. I'd be watching Fox News, right? Because that was my, I was the conservative. So I'd be watching Fox News, and I noticed that I'd be talking and having a conversation with somebody, and I would, spew out a talking point that I saw on Fox News and regurgitate it to somebody as if it were fact, and I would present it to them as if I knew it to be fact, right? But I caught myself in my head, literally, I would say as I was saying it in the conversation, I caught myself saying, wait a minute, you don't actually know that for a fact. You heard that on Fox News. So I started to. I don't like to be caught with my pants down and look like a moron. I don't want to look like an idiot. So I would start to go do research, and I realized that was one of the things that woke me up. Is I realized that a lot of the things that I was telling people that I thought would, that I would present to people as fact, wasn't. This was years and years and years ago. And that started me on my journey, which led me to where I am today, which now I'm the complete antithesis to that. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a break sneaking up on us. Don't go anywhere. More with my guest, Stephanie Sledge, when we get right back. Again, during the break, check out her website, thegovernmentrag.com, thegovernmentrag.com. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And we're going to switch up a little bit here because I think we have driven the point home about the Boston bombings, and Stephanie's got an article coming out. I think she said it was tomorrow, right, Steph? Your article's coming out on it?
Yeah, hopefully tonight.
Okay. So, we'll say within the next 24 to 48 hours the article will be out. So I want to pick her brain about Sandy Hook. And I know it's a couple months old already, but again, the last time I spoke to Stephanie, in fact, we were chatting about this during the break. The last time we spoke, it was, I think, maybe a month or within a month or so of the Sikh temple shooting. And there's already been, more, the Boston bombing plus the Sandy Hook event in between that, more false flaggery, more whatever you want to call it, black ops events in between the last time I talked to her and now. So I want to switch up and pick her brain on Sandy Hook as well. So first and foremost, do you, obvious question, do you think Sandy Hook was a black op of some sort?
Well, definitely there's a lot of suspicious things that happened over there, and And I can't say for sure whether I think it's a black op or not because I haven't really investigated it thoroughly. But what I did do was I did do 3 articles on the Sandy Hook shooting. And the very first article that I did was within days of it coming out, and it was called The Bait and Switch at Sandy Hook. And what it talked about was, you know, how the storyline changed so many times and all the oddities and you know, just all the weirdness of the whole thing, including the guns and the timeline wasn't matching and stuff. So if people go to my website, thegovernmentrag.com, they can click on, underneath the first video that's on the page, they can click on featured news. And I've got articles of interest in there that have to do with Sandy Hook. And 2 other articles that I did, one was called The Motive at Newtown, and I had written an article on what I believe was the motive behind it, and the reason why I wrote that was because there were many connections that were similar to the Tucson shooting, and it had to do with, you know, a lot of the state agencies, and of course Dr. Carver, who was the medical examiner, and you know, the way that he acted that day. So, you know, there were definitely some weird things going on there. And then one thing that I did discover, which was underreported, was the sheriff in Newtown in Fairfax County was bushwhacked. In fact, many counties in Connecticut, their sheriffs have been bushwhacked, and I was absolutely startled when I began to investigate, you know, the bushwhacking of the sheriffs out there, how, you know, I think they did it. And it's a very good article to read if you guys want to read it. It's called The Bushwhack.
When you mean bushwhacking, you mean like murked, as in taken out?
No, they were stripped of their powers. So a bushwhack sheriff, there's a lot of bushwhack sheriffs going on in America right now, and Sheriff Mack has been trying to warn people of this for quite a while, but nobody's really been listening, you know. But the truth is behind the scenes, the sheriffs are being stripped of their arrest powers and their power as sheriff in America. So basically the highest law of the land, the man that has the ultimate power to keep the federal government and, you know, out of the county and keep tyrannical things from going on and serving the people are being bushwhacked. And that's why I said, you know, with the Boston bombing, have we heard from the sheriff? We haven't. And so what does that mean? Does that mean that the sheriff has been bushwhacked? Has he been stripped of his powers? And it's very startling. And one of the things that startled me the most was the entire state of Connecticut, that they had done it through the election system, and they, you know, claim that the citizens are the ones that voted the sheriffs out of their state in these counties that I believe in this area that Sandy Hook happened. So it's definitely alarming. So I definitely, you know, I hope that people will go read more into that, because there's a lot of different things. You know, Adam Lanza, you know, there's a lot of people that wonder if he's a younger version of his older brother. I know that there's a lot of people that are questioning that.
Steph, I'm gonna cut us off right there because we got a break sneaking up on us. But I want to get into this more on the other side because we'll have a longer segment. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Again, Stephanie's website is thegovernmentrag.com. Thegovernmentrag.com. Check her site out and check out her book, April Zebra 11. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I am sure by now you understand why whenever Stephanie comes on, there would be a technical issue with Skype or a telephone, or no matter whether it's cell phone, landline, Skype. It's amazing. She's just one of those guests. And after tonight's broadcast, do you have any questions as to why? Of course not, because you can hear it when she asks questions or when she just poses, you know, a thought and says, hey, you should focus on this, maybe you should focus on that. Gee, I wonder why every time I talk to her, or any other host for that matter, tries to have her on their broadcast, it's always a technical nightmare. Gee, I wonder why they wouldn't want you to know what she has to say. So check her website out, thegovernmentrag.com, thegovernmentrag.com, and I urge you to get her book, April Zebra 11. I am going to do what I urge you all to do, and I'm going to support her, and I'm going to purchase a physical copy of the book. That way, because I am like that, and I just like to have physical copies, but I urge you to go out and do the same, ladies and gentlemen. Purchase a physical copy while you can. It'll be one of those books that 20 years from now, it'll be, there's only a certain amount of them out there, and if you don't have one, guess how much it'll be worth on Amazon in the future? Probably thousands and thousands of dollars. Okay? So do it. Steph, we got a few minutes before the end of the broadcast. What are your final thoughts on all of this mess that's been going on?
Well, I always try to stay positive, and I know there's a lot of negative things going on that people just want to turn away from because they don't want to hear about it. But, really we have to uncover all of this so that we can get through it. And, it's not, I know that there's scary things going on where, there's, people are, afraid to go to the movie theaters and, worried about their children being in school and just worried about any place where there's, a lot of people that kind of, mingle together and stuff. But the truth is the faster we can get the information out, then the less likely, it may stop the next one. And so I do urge people to do their own research, support those that are really doing the hard work, like, you and several other people, in the alternative media, and, basically just keep trying to be positive, because if you're negative, then it just brings negativity, and if you're positive, then you find ways to get through things and to make a difference and help with change.
I agree. We have to have a positive edge to this. We can't, we always talk about negative stuff. There's horrific things going on, And I've even had people say to me, how do you talk about all this negative stuff all the time without having an ulcer or having an anxiety attack and I say, look, honestly, because I understand that there is hope, and I understand that the answer to all this is really us. So I don't try to bring the information across in a way of scaring people. My goal is to say, look, this is what's up. You need to pay attention to this. Go look at it. Formulate your own opinion. And then if you come back and we'll talk. And usually most people go and they research it. They have anybody with half a brain looks at this and says, okay, this is shady. Just because people aren't saying, just because your neighbor isn't running down the street screaming that he knows that the Boston Marathon bombing looks shady, and it doesn't look like the government's official, and I'm doing air quotes, the official story is worth a crap, right? Just because you don't see him saying that doesn't mean he doesn't think that. There's a lot of people out there. I find there's more people out there that don't say how they feel, that actually do feel that way. You know what I mean? So I understand. I can look at this and say that there's hope. I know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I can see it, and I know it seems dark and stuff. I've said this before on the broadcast. I know it seems dark and like we're in some like huge storm and it's thundering and lightning and nobody can see 5 feet in front of their face and oh my God, it's scary. But there is a lighthouse out there, and if you focus and you look at the horizon, you'll see it. Okay, and if you focus on that point of light and we head towards that light, we can get through this. It's not that scary. They make it look more scary than it really is because they want you to be afraid. They need you in fear. They need everybody scared. So, oh my God, I'm so afraid. I don't know what to do. That way they can control you. They need you separated from everybody around you, your family, and yourself, your own true identity. That way you look to them for salvation because they are the hero. They've created that whole they've created that whole persona for themselves, and they've had a mind control you to look to them to save you, and you don't have to do that. And that's why there is hope, there is positivity in this, and it lies within each and every one of you. Stephanie, we're coming up to the end of the broadcast. I want to thank you so much for coming on and giving me 2 hours of your time tonight to sit and pick your brain. I'm going to have to...
Thank you. I appreciated it.
I'm going to have to get you back on again sooner than within a few months. I'm going to get you back on again within the next few weeks, actually, because I want to. We can get into your article a little bit, and I'm going to promote it on Federal Jack because I think people need to read your work. Ladies and gentlemen, again, you can check out Stephanie's work over at thegovernmentrag.com. Thegovernmentrag.com. I will scream it out again. Thegovernmentrag.com. Check it out and check her book out. Her work on the Jared Lee Loughner shooting, or his supposed shooting of Gabrielle Giffords, which is shady in itself. But check it out, April Zebra 11. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. I'll be back again live tomorrow night. Be an autodidact. Educate yourself. Don't fall for the mainstream fear porn. I love you all. I'm out of here.